Welcome back to the Ekkocast. It has been a little bit, so I appreciate your patience. But we brought in one of the youngest Ekko athletes, Fonzo. He's been a client of mine for a little while. He just competed in his first bodybuilding show, did very well. But more than that, I wanted to bring Fonzo on here because he is what I would say an exemplary young man should be. He's 19 years old. He's always striving for more, but both when it comes to his gym, but also his outside life as well, his relationships, everything. So I wanted to give him an opportunity to motivate you guys, because it can be very hard to look at somebody like me, who's obviously a grandpa, and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take my cues from him. I want to give you guys somebody who's a little bit younger that you can look to and say, you know what? I could be doing stuff a little bit better. I could be striving for a little bit more, and it doesn't have to be dependent on the fact that I am out of the house for the last decade. This guy's clearly just graduated high school and is already killing it, so let's get right into it. Fonzo, first and foremost, just give them a brief introduction about yourself, who you are, where you've come from, etc.
All right, guys, so my name's Alfonso. Most of you guys know me as Fonz or Anabolic Fonz. Just recently turned 19, competed in my first ever natural bodybuilding show with the guidance of the Yoda of the fitness community, Mr. TNF. And then 15 or 16 days out from my second natural bodybuilding show, and God willing, natural pro card, we're going for it. But grew up in Brazil, lived there for the first 12 years of my life. I did live here, I will say, whenever I was 3 years old to 5. That's how I know how to speak English so fluently. It was one of my first languages. And then I have had to move several different times growing up, schools, always being the youngest kid, always learning a new language, a new culture, having to adapt. Graduated high school as one of the youngest in my class at 17, had to move out at 17, and dropped out of college. Well, I'm doing online school, but dropped out of my D1 school that I worked so hard to get into, which we'll get into later in the podcast, recently this year. And it has been, nevertheless, the biggest roller coaster of my life this past year, but undoubtedly grateful for every obstacle, trial, and growth that has happened. This has been by far the most, if I had to describe this year, I would say growth in a word. It's been amazing. It's been a blessing, from dropping out, from working at the Ekko warehouse the first few months, from ending up going full-time into content coaching, and then finishing off this prep. This has been an absolute blast. So that's a little bit of my story, but obviously we'll get into some specifics later. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it, filling everyone in.
No, that's awesome. So I wanted to ask Fonzo, because this is a question that I always ask lifters, because a lot of us have been in the gym for a while. We come from some sort of athletic background, but there's always kind of a turning point, something that turns it from, oh, okay, like I happen to go to the gym, to, okay, I'm going to the gym for a specific purpose. And obviously in our case is that purpose, building muscle in as aesthetic a form as we can. What was kind of the catalyst for you deciding, hey, you know what, like I've been in the gym before, but I'm actually going to take this gym stuff seriously?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, going back to like growing up in Brazil, I always played soccer. So that was something that obviously is in your background too, which is super cool. And my dream was to become a professional soccer player. And I honestly believe if I had still stayed in Brazil, I might have gone far.
Cocky.
No, hey.
Just kidding.
But moving here, it was a completely like culture shock. Like the fact that I went from being skill and Neymar and whatnot to getting shoved on the floor by all these just very aggressive and physical kids, because everyone who played soccer here plays football, or like, you know what I mean? And then I went to a small private school, so the judges for our games were the same ones for football, and they wouldn't call red cards, and I'd be mad. Long story short, being the youngest kid here and then being cooked at the thing that I held myself to the highest standard of, which was soccer, it made me want to get into the gym and made me want to change. So it started off with the weight room, and I think it really became something that I was like, okay, I need to build muscle, I need to change. I was roughly around 14, 15 years old, pandemic. I remember we were getting ready to go to a wedding, my family and I was finally my dad's height, which my dad is roughly around 5'6" to 5'7", and I was trying one of his old suits, like tux, because we didn't want to get one for me. And we were like, they're the same height, it'll work. And I remember putting it on, and it was too big. And my dad and I are basically best friends. And he made a couple jokes, but they stuck with me for the fact that I remember it 4 years later. He was like, the suit doesn't fit you because you just don't have the shoulders. You don't have the chest. You don't have the arms. You're so skinny. Look at you. And this was right in the pandemic stage, so I'll never forget. And he was like, dude, like, you got to grow up. Let me take you to the gym. And so it started off with just like me doing push-ups. And I remember one of my old buddies of mine, we used to get on FaceTime and do crunches. But I would say it started off with me. I know I yap a lot, guys. You guys know me for this. But it started off really lifting at 14, 15. I would say more inclined to 15 years old with the fact of, like, I want to get aesthetics. I want to build muscle. Watching a lot of Lex Little and David Lade at that time. But, yeah, I would say 15. So it's been around 4 years now, naturally. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you've had a really successful journey when it comes to the amount of muscle you've built and everything. But obviously you've also been able to turn this into a career, which is pretty darn cool for somebody who's only 19 years old.
It's amazing.
So I want to delve into that a little bit. Yeah. So as far as what you're doing now, like, it doesn't have to necessarily be that you knew that this was exactly what it was going to be. But at what point did it go from, hey, I go to the gym in order to build muscle, get stronger, et cetera, to, you know what, maybe if I play my cards right, this could be something that I turn into an actual career?
So I had actually never thought about it. Growing up, being the youngest, I always wanted to do something different. I don't know why. Like, I always struggled somewhat with, like, sticking to friend groups or just in general friends growing up, because I always wanted to do something different. Like, I couldn't conform with, like, oh, like, let's just do what everyone else our age is doing. Like, I wanted some excitement, you know? And I remember I was 16. I had just gone to coach, which was the biggest dude in my gym. I went up to him and I was like, hey, I want to get big. I want to go to that 200. Give me big. And I remember it was like 4 sets of bench, chocolate milk, like just stuffing calories. And I remember I went to Legend Barbell, a gym, my local gym for the longest time. And a guy that by then, he's still a really good friend of mine, Ross. He was with Young LA back then. And he was 19 at the time. I was 16. And I remember it was my first day at that gym, and I worked in with him for a set of chest press or something. And he told me, he was like, dude, you're 16. Like, you look like this. You should start posting. And for the first time ever, like, I thought about it. I was like, I'll start posting. And I made my account, I remember the day after, Anabolic Fonts, because everyone in high school thought I was taking SARMs. And it just stuck. And that's whenever awesome. I started posting. But I've always watched you. I've always watched a lot of the Ekko guys as well. The main ones I can remember growing up, though, was like Lex Little. That was the guy. That's one of the guys I haven't met yet, and I would love to. But yeah, it was like at 16. Okay. Made my account.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to school the day after. Everyone made fun of me.
Yep.
Everyone. Yep. And it was like, I remember even teachers made fun of me, saying like,
seriously?
Yeah. I'll never forget. And because I made my account and posted something, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and I even remember, like, I told her, yeah, I think Anabolic Fonts is going to be the name, and she was like, what? You know what I mean? Which, I get it, like, Anabolic Fonts, but that was just a joke, because I started lifting at 14, 15. Imagine, I was 5'6", 130 pounds, and I go from that to, at 16 years old, I was 5'9", and at 16, I hit 195. So, like, and I have all these stretch marks on my arms. And, like, you're visibly a lot fuller and bigger because you just gained 45, 50 pounds. I hit puberty late because I was the youngest kid. And so, yeah, everyone thought I was taking something or just at least some SARMs, right? And that's why I came with the name Anabolic Fonts.
Okay. I have to go back to what you mentioned before. What did it look like when a teacher would make fun of you?
It was, again, I've always been kind of on my own lane, which I was like, I don't really care. But yeah, it was first the PE teacher. I remember he just said like, oh, Anabolic Fonts, you know, because I went to a small private school. Everyone's on your business. But the one that I will never forget was my accounting class. Whenever I was a senior in high school at 17, this, keep in mind, I had maybe been posting for a couple months, but just TikTok shop. It wasn't like personal branding or anything like that. But I was already with Ekko, right? It was back whenever I used to work at the old warehouse with Bag, Steven, and them. And I remember I had my head down, and I had been skipping a lot of my accounting classes because you already got into college. You're your senior year. Like, your grades don't matter your last few months, right? And I remember, never forget, verbatim, she was like, yo, like, I would wake up. I had no friends in that class. I sat in the back corner. I would wake up, like, you do realize posting these silly videos online aren't going to get you anywhere. Like, swear, word for word. And I'll never forget, I just put my head up, and I was like, what is this attack? Like, I get it. It's disrespectful of me not to pay attention and not to be doing my stuff. But, like, what's the point of, like, targeting that?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I never forgot. She literally said, word for word, like, those videos aren't going to make you any money. This is what you should really be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, dang, okay.
It's funny to hear you say that because it feels like there's a lot of things you mentioned in there that I can relate to in terms of individual moments in time that happened just from different people.
Yeah.
So for you, your teacher, like you're not going to make it. I'm not going to say exactly what the relationship of the individual that said this to me was because I don't want there to be any bad blood or anything. But I remember somebody who was relatively close to me was like, oh, but it's saturated, so you'll never make it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like that's like, I understand you can have concerns. It can be something that you're a little bit worried about. But the idea of just taking and just trying to crush somebody from the idea of ever striving for that,
Yeah.
even if you're a little bit frustrated because
Yeah.
of the fact that you haven't necessarily done as much as you wanted to, or they're not necessarily, in your case, paying attention in class, it just doesn't make sense to me. Because I take a look at it, and when somebody tells me that they want to accomplish something, I'm like, okay, cool. What steps are you doing in order to do it?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my response to something like that, not the immediate skepticism. It's like, because I'll listen. I'll hear them out, be like, okay, you say you want to do this, because there are a lot of people, obviously, that say that they want to do stuff but don't actually take action. But if somebody tells me that, then I'm going to dig further to see, okay, does this person have what it takes? Even if it's something I don't know a lot about, I will ask them just to see, okay, is this person somebody who talks or does?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, once you figure that out, it's like, okay, a field might be saturated. There might be a lot of people in it. It might be hard to get into. But if you're the person who's going to be consistently working towards it, if you're the person who's consistently trying to elevate yourself above the others within that field, there's no reason why you can't rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the conversations that I had, because my wife wasn't necessarily that happy that the person had said something like that, because she fully believed in everything that I was doing, what I could do, and I said, you just have to understand, it's like people see statistics rather than seeing the person behind the stats. So what they'll do is they'll say, oh, well, 97% of people who try to do this aren't going to be able to, rather than saying, okay, is the individual that I'm looking at capable of being in that 3%?
Yeah.
And so I said something that was probably a little bit mean at the time, but I still kind of stand by it. I said, yeah, sure, it's saturated, but it's saturated with idiots. I'm like, there's a ton of people who just don't have direction. They don't understand what they're doing. They don't have any structure, plan, what they're trying to accomplish. And if you have a field that has a ton of people trying to get into it, but the applicants are subpar at best, there's no reason why you can't elevate yourself into that category. And obviously you've done that, which is really cool to see. So take me through kind of what an individual day looks like for you as a 19-year-old influencer, coach. What's it look like? Is it pretty structured? Is it pretty relaxed? What's it look like for you?
Right now, being obviously so close to the shows and like on prep, it's a little bit more systematic, and some might even say sad, but it's just part of it, and it's just what you got to do to get to where you want to be at. But I would say realistically a day right now, and for you guys that follow me on YouTube, like I'm not making this up to try to put an influencer, oh, this is how I live, like morning routine, but it truly is. And I would say this has been on since March, and then I kind of took a break from it in June whenever my friends from college came, and I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a mental break because I'm going to go into prep for so long. And then I got back into it in July. But I wake up, preferably would want to do a cold plunge at 6 a.m. simply for the fact that it wakes me up. Like I'm not. It's not some like this. And this.
Wait,
No.
you do cold plunges every morning?
I did every single morning for 4 months, and the only reason I stopped was because I was spending so much money on ice, and summer came around. But I was, yeah.
Okay.
But right now, I wake up, I do my posing, so 15 to 25, 30 minutes of posing in my garage, send you check-ins, and then I get into the Word. Right now, I'm going over Matthew. I've read over Proverbs, Romans as well. Job has been a really good one for prep, but I don't want to get into that too much. But
The book of suffering.
yeah. But I'll get into the Word, and then I'll eat my pre-workout meal, and then gym. I'm at the gym by 7:30. I'll hit a lift, and then I'll do my social media posing. Which, guys, there's a very big difference between bodybuilding posing practice and showing your social media abs and thighs. You know what I mean? People don't understand that, and so I'll get home. And then I have to get my 15 to 20,000 steps a day, which it's even a joke now. Like, this kid gets 20,000 steps a day. Yep, it's a lot of walking, 2 to 3 hours of walking. And then for the longest time, whenever I did have energy, it was lots of things. Like, I've read 10 books now leading up to prep, which I have a list on my phone. I do online school, so maybe if I have a homework here and there, I haven't been late on any assignments or anything like that. Every day I have to listen to at least one good podcast. For the longest, it was one informative and one biblical podcast because I wanted to expand my knowledge on that. And then reading. And then it was honestly just whatever free time I had was editing, getting to know more about content, maybe studying coaching. I'm always a proactive person, so I'm trying to use my time wisely, right? Especially dropping out, but I'm doing online school. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, it's what you said. A lot of people say they want to do things, but there's this difference between doing things or saying you want to do something and actually going through that journey to get there.
Right.
And yeah, for the longest time, I mean, it was get a coffee, go to a Starbucks, coffee shop, or just stay at home. Any form of way that I can expand my knowledge. That's all I focused on this year. It was with learning about coaching, taking on clients, building programs. I was in your school for 2 months, which the day I joined, did every single module, wrote every single note down on my notebook at home, studied it completely, joined the meetings. You know, like I was always trying to do something to just inform myself better. And then obviously, you know, with the meals, with the content, and then I also do TikTok shop. So that's another avenue of income that helps a lot with Ekko and whatnot. And then just spending time with my parents whenever I had extra free time. But a lot of this year, if I'm being brutally honest, for you to get to an exceptional place that you want to be at, there's going to be moments where you're waking up at 6 a.m. and doing cold plunges and people are like, what are you doing? But sometimes it does take a lot of things to get to where you want to be at in life, especially at a younger age. And being 18, like all my friends are in college in another states. Like I didn't even have any distractions. I sat on my phone before I had locked in and straight up unadded over like 500 people. Like removed their number, removed their contact, unfollowed everyone. Because I was like, I can't be missing out of something if I don't know it's happening.
Yeah.
And the real ones will always be around. I mean, your real friends, the ones that are truly there for you, it doesn't matter if you block them, whatever, they'll show up at your house and they'll say hi. Like I had a friend on prep that I hadn't seen him in a couple months, and he just showed up to give me a birthday gift. Just like straight up called me and just walked through my front door. Like that's a real friend.
Yeah.
And so shout out Aiden. But everyone else, I just realized like, dang, like if it wasn't bonding over partying or other 18-year-old things, you know what I mean? Like how's frat life going on all these things? They just weren't like, we weren't even, there wasn't much common interest, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's more or less what a day in life looks like. And then I obviously have my nightly routine, which I'll put my blue light glasses on, take my supplements. I'll read a book for 40 minutes before bed, put my face mask on. 10 p.m., I'm out. And then wake up at 5:45, do it all again.
But it's pretty much work until that 40 minutes.
I will say so, yeah. I try to, you know, the idea of sitting down and watching a cartoon, the idea of being like, Mom, let's go watch a movie, sounds really good. And then I'll get into there, and I'm like,
You think of all the things.
I have to post, I have to answer DMs, I have to answer comments. And it's been hard. But, I mean, I made this commitment with myself, and you have to make sacrifices. So, yeah, but at the end of the day, you could see it as like, oh, this is miserable, this is extreme. But the fact that I go to bed every night happy, fulfilled, and I know I'm doing what I love doing. This is my passion. It doesn't bother me. Like, it might seem like, oh, you're working too much, or shouldn't you have this free time? I'm like, yeah, it'll come. But for now, I want to get to where I want to get at. And,
Right.
you know, looking at my full day, yes, it's busy. Yes, it feels like it's all over the place. But I'm doing things I love. And I'm living, like I always say, I'm living in answered prayers. There's nothing I can complain about. If I was sitting at my college at a desk right now, listening to some science class, sleeping, and then going back home to the dorms and playing video games, I would be wishing I was here. So I'm just gonna suck it up and do it again tomorrow. So that's how I see it as. Yeah.
Dude, that is so. The thing that I notice when you go through your stuff is you have it right on hand because you know exactly what it is you do and what you're about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I have always noticed when I talk with people who have the idea that they want something versus the people who are actually going to go out and get it. Is every single time I talk to somebody who says, "Oh, I wish I could do what you do." I'm like, "What do you think I do?"
Yeah.
I always ask them that. I say, "What do you think I do?" And they're like, "Well, like you post fitness content." I'm like, "That's part of it." And so when I go through what my entire day looks like and I tell them, "Look, like for the past 4 or 5 years, my work in general has taken up probably 10 to 14 hours of my day every single day, other than maybe a few circumstances where the wife says, 'No, you need to be present. You need to be here for this.'" I'm like, "You know what? You're right." And I put it down for that time. But that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
And so what will happen is people will say, "Okay, well, I'd love to be in this." And sure, there can be a few people here and there who kind of stumble into being able to turn social media into a full-time living. But the more people I talk to, the more I find out that the vast majority of the people who are actually in it and doing it full-time, they're planners. They're people who would have been successful in other areas. Because I'll see that people say, "Oh, well, why don't you just go get a real job?" I'm like, those same people that you're saying that to on social media are the people who would have risen to the top in their corporation had they decided to go that route. Because they are the people who are consistently looking for those opportunities to level up each time. And so what happens is there's this mindset of, "Oh, well, the people that do well on social media, like they'd be out of luck if they didn't have social media." Like, no, a lot of these people are simply entrepreneurs that have thrown themselves into the social media world, not somebody who happened to stumble into social media fame and then, well, if this goes, I'm gone. Doesn't really work like that.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
really, really cool to see you break it down because you're 19.
Yeah.
When I was 19, for me, a successful day was I had a good soccer training session.
Yeah.
Like that was what a successful day looked like to me. That was it.
Yeah.
Right? There was no thought of, "Oh, okay, what am I going to be doing? What am I working towards?" It was, "Okay, did I have some good shots today in practice?"
Yeah.
And so when I see people who are already in this mindset and already working their way that way, it's so interesting to me because that was something that I had to very much develop over time because I was always dedicated. But the thing is, I didn't know where to put that dedication other than, "Oh, well, I play sports.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So I'm going to be the best at a sport." And that was it. There was nothing else outside of that. And there were so many opportunities that I missed to get better in certain regards that I just never took.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to see you doing that at 18. If I could go back and do things differently, I always say that, but let's be real. Like everything you do leads to where you are right now. So everything would have looked completely different at that point. So I can't complain too much. But with all that being said, you are 19, which means you're still close to home.
Yeah.
Right? When I started into the social media realm was during COVID. I was already above the age of 25. The idea of running things by my parents or them being significantly involved in stuff, apologies, was not really a thing, right? That was not something that I had to worry about. As, yeah, they might have some concerns here and there where, "Oh, you're not teaching, you're doing social media," but that was about it, right? It was not something where they're breathing down my neck or getting after me about things. You're an adult, you can handle things. So how do your parents feel about this being the direction that your life is going?
This is a very interesting one. And I just huge shout out for to my parents because they go through so much and I put them through so much that honestly, at times, like, I just need to applaud them for being able to handle me. Even on prep, like, the amount of emotional stress or just workload stress or just breakouts I've had at home. And, I don't really have other people my age to talk to. And I just have to vent to them or just not anger, but like my crash outs, it ends up being for them to listen. My parents have been by my side and my biggest supporters this entire time. And
Incredible.
like I have the best, like I would say I'm so blessed for my parents. I have a great relationship with them. I consider them my best friends and everything. And at first with social media, I mean, after getting all those shout outs out of the way, yeah, of course they don't understand. Like especially my parents have busted their butts off just to move us from Brazil to the US, always giving us the best opportunity of me and my little sister. And I wanted to go to med school. So like doing pre-med and then getting into that D1 school and then having to look at them after one semester and saying, "Hey, I think I'm going to go pack orders at a warehouse and try the social media thing." It
Yeah.
was like, "Son, what are you doing?
Yeah.
We have risks our entire lives to get to the US and you're just going to blow it out off to post videos on social media." And a big thing that you mentioned, the statistic thing, I remember whenever I first started to get involved with the guys at the warehouse, it was during first whenever Black Friday came out or TikTok shop. And I remember telling them like, "Oh my gosh, these guys are 20. They're doing this and this, these numbers, like this is nuts." And Echo Vision's doing so well. Like I could get a sponsored product with them one day. I could become an athlete. And they were like, "But aren't you sure that's the 1%?" Like, and by no means were they trying to put me down. They're my parents. They're worried about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, "Mom, like the 1% are my boys."
Yeah.
Once you have that connection, it makes it not easier, but it definitely does help a ton for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
1,000%. And she's like, "Oh, but your coach, like, so what does he do? What does he do?" I'm like, "Mom, look, like my coach, who I also consider my mentor in many ways, like he is not he's the 1%, but he is like, we have contact all the time. Like I'm here sitting with you. Like, I promise you, Mom, I know these people have helped me with the steps to almost get there. I just have to execute it. It's on my part." Like I remember Blake Nark telling me like, "You shouldn't even go to college." Like I remember Bax and Thiven, they would tell me at the time, they'd be like, "This girlfriend you have of yours, you should break up with her and not even go to college, stay in Houston and grind with us, like Ekko to the moon."
Yep.
And it was just like telling my parents that is a huge shocker. It's a
Yeah.
huge, like they've invested so much money in my education. I mean, I did a study abroad. I lived with a host family for a month in Spain to learn another language at 15. Studied at a university. And my mom would take me to Memorial Hermann once a week throughout an entire summer to do volunteering at a hospital. Like I got my phlebotomy license. I did everything to go med. And yeah, it was a huge struggle for them to understand it until you start talking, until it starts translating to finances.
Right.
That's the biggest caveat. You know what I mean?
How long was it before you either outright stated or heavily implied that financially this was something that was getting returns for you to your family?
I would say, so I made my accounts at 16 to 17, my Instagram, and then I started really posting TikTok shop. I had no followers or anything like that. It was just TikTok shop at 17. And I did that until like the last few months of high school. And it was giving me like an okay to where it raised their eyebrows and it made them listen, but nothing crazy. Because then again, you talk about a doctor salary and,
Sure.
it is what it is. And then I went through this whole breakup. It completely destroyed me. Like I went down a bad path, partying, and then decided I was actually going to college. I was never supposed to go to college from the first place and kind of just stopped posting. And I remember even M texted me. He was like, "Fonz, like, where have you been? You haven't been to the warehouse." And up until then, I had maybe 3,000 followers. And I would skip my last high school classes senior year to go pack orders with the boys because I just loved hanging out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started posting again my freshman year of high school, TikTok shop only, and it started to do really well. And I remember those merengue cookies really ripped. And I showed my parents, and I'm like, "Guys, like, look at this." And I remember I had a dinner, 17 to 18 years old, and I invited, the guys from Ekko. Mass, Nate, and Tristan came. And I started to get more involved with Ekko, and I started to pull back from college because I went through this party phase and just doing stuff that people my age are doing, and I kind of just got sick of it. So we had this dinner, and they straight up sat down and talked to my parents on my birthday, and they were like, "Hey, like this is how we are at. This is our age. These are financials. If Fonz does this." Because my plan was to move back, work warehouse full time, which is what I did at the beginning of the year, and then try to make social media and personal branding work, right? And this is how he's doing right now. I had already bought my BMW at 17, fully me, and they were like, okay, like we'll give you a 6-month gap, right? And that was this year. Like it was never like he's gonna drop out this, make it, because up until then, yeah, I'm making a little bit of income, but it's like a part-time job.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the deal always was, Fonz is going to take a gap semester, and then August, he goes back into online school or back to A&M. So yeah, long story short, TikTok shop gave me a part-time income of okay. And then after lots of convincing, after having Tristan come over, Nate and Mass, all these guys, they finally were like, okay, we'll give you this, we'll trust you, and we'll give you these 6 months. And also taking in consideration, I was the youngest already. Like I moved out of my house at 17. And so taking 6 months, I'm still ahead of my age. Like if I went back to school, I'm not behind by any means. I'm already a full year ahead.
Right.
And so that's why we were able to settle on these terms. But it was essentially just, yeah, to that point, I'm like, Mom, these are what all my friends are doing at my age in college. Like straight up showed her everything. And she's like, I'm paying this amount of money for all these parties and what? And I'm like, yeah, so give me 6 months. Let's try to make something happen. And then they were like, okay. So yeah, that's whenever we pulled out of the university.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now they're okay with
Now
what you do?
they still think school's important.
Okay.
They hold that value to them. They fully are out of the idea of me going to medicine because they know that would take up so much of my time. But it's very important. I don't think it's so much important for them because my mom is also an entrepreneur, has her business. She does real estate as well. It's not so important for the fact that I get a degree. It's more, I think personally, and if my parents are watching this, they're going to be annoyed, but I think it's because they don't want to have to tell someone like, yeah, my son's a dropout and my son like social media, because from someone who doesn't know, and especially coming from like Christian traditional families, like I feel no reason to flex. I feel no reason to, hey, I make this, you don't know better. Like it's an ego thing. But having to say like, yeah, oh, what does your son do? Oh, my son's a pilot. My son's in law school. What does your son do? Oh, yeah, he posts TikToks.
I sometimes I just imagine the conversations that my parents have.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it is such a different lifestyle. I just think, okay, how do they actually say it
Yeah.
when they're talking to other people? I have no idea.
No idea. And so, yeah, it's just, I think for them, me finishing, which I am in online school, but I'm stopping after the semester because it makes no sense. I've proven to my parents that I'm not all talk per se. I can tell on their end just because they see my routine and they see what I do every single day. Like higher up, Michael, he always talks about like that quote that is like, you don't have to. I can't remember exactly prep brain, but it's like. You shouldn't have to explain yourself for who you are. You should have undeniable evidence.
Yeah. Stacking up undeniable evidence.
Of
undeniable proof, I think, is the way he says it.
That you are who you say you are,
Exactly.
or like that you are who you are. And with my parents this year, that's been a big thing for them seeing me. It's just like, this is not makeup. It's not like, oh, I had one good month. It's been 10 good months in a row. Right. And then like me this year going all on my own, opening my business credit cards, taking on clients, competing, going through with these shows, traveling, through social media, all paid for, having this extreme lifestyle change, completely rewiring my brain with certain things like Bible studies. I've had my parents join me in the mornings. I've led our Bible studies. I've taught them how to do Bible studies. Books. My dad hadn't read a full book in so many years, and he came up to me the other day. He was like, son, like, for the first time, I finished a book, and you've read 11 these past 12 weeks? And so it's like, you know, it was all talk at first, but then they would see me go out in the parties on the weekends and be inconsistent and all this, and them truly seeing like, dang, like this whole year, like you did what you were going to, and you keep showing up every day. Like it requires a lot of sacrifice, discipline, and all this stuff. And nowadays they're just like, we know you're gonna be. It's what you were saying. It's not, oh, he got lucky with social media. No, like you have to have the mindset for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were doing anything else, you would raise to that high standard. So that's what they've seen. They're just like, you have the, if it's not with fitness, it's going to be with real estate, which I'm interested in, with my investments, with Airbnb, with whatever that might be. I'm going to do my best in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And right now, being objectively honest with myself, sitting in a math classroom, I'm not that person. Like, I'm not. I'm thinking, like, I'm going to read a book about a guy who has done this, or listen to a podcast about a guy who's doing this, or can teach me how to get there faster. And I'm going to take way more value of learning the process of ups and downs throughout the journey of getting there than sitting here and cheating on this math class that I don't want to do. So
why do you assume that you have to cheat? No, I'm just kidding. No, it is one of those conversations that when I talk with people, often they think that I am saying that schooling is completely unnecessary for everybody. But what I will do is I will explain to them, I will say, no, it's not that schooling is unnecessary or unhelpful for people in general. It's that if you are somebody who is entrepreneurially minded, it's not going to be the thing that makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
Right? You could go to school, but often you're not going to end up using that degree.
Yeah, exactly.
You could go to school, but if you didn't, that's not going to be what decides whether you're successful financially in the future. And that's comes very much with the mindset of something that you touched on earlier, which is responsibility.
Yeah.
And often what I will see is I will see people say, oh, well, it's lucky that you did this. It's lucky that you got this. And one of the, I'm going to butcher this quote, but one of the best phrases or quotes that I've ever heard is, it's crazy how lucky I get. It's crazy how every time I work a lot harder, I tend to get a lot more lucky, right? And so it's basically taking and saying, just because of the fact that some fortunate things have happened to you, if you're putting yourself in the opportunity and in the scenario where those things can happen, they're much, much more likely to happen.
Yeah.
So sure, you might have gotten a great deal, but people don't see the 9 deals that were missed in the process. People don't see the failures, the stumbles that happened while you were getting yourself to there. Because most of the time when people stumble or fail in something more than once, it's it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just not, that's just not me then. Oh, I guess I just don't have the capability of becoming that. And I just don't understand how people can take a look. One of the things that was very frustrating for me going through this was I was married already, right? And I was a teacher. And so when I was going about my teaching, it was like, okay, well, we know that he's getting a stable paycheck that is going to be able to, obviously, people know that teacher salaries aren't the highest, but at least it's going to be a stable income that is able to provide somewhat for his family. And like you, growing up in a traditional Christian household, there were conversations that I heard happening around me when it came to my wife's family, where I would just, it hurt me. It was hard for me to hear because I knew that when I was doing this, they didn't necessarily view it as the best option. And I always take it very seriously that my wife is my first priority and I'm supposed to take care of her. And if her family didn't feel like I was taking care of her, which they've never said anything like that to me directly, but there would be the little comments like, "Oh, so you gonna get back into teaching? You going to?" And I told my wife at that point, I said, "Can we just like show them a bank statement?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "Please, like you don't understand. Like this is not about like flexing money.
Yeah.
This is, I want you to know that your daughter is being taken care of."
Yeah.
But she said, "No, they'll see it. They'll see it eventually. They'll see it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to trust you on this." And then she was a pharmacist when we were first, or I should say, after she graduated and I was starting into this stuff. She's a full-time pharmacist, and then she went to part-time, which was kind of an eyebrow raise for people. It's like, why is she going part-time if he's just playing with his fitness stuff? And then she eventually stopped doing pharmacy and she started working with me. And it was like, okay, well, if she's not doing pharmacy anymore, and we kind of understand what pharmacists can do in terms of financials, but it was such a hard process for me to not just say, I'm going to go have this conversation with these people. And so I wasn't sure if in your circumstance, if you just told your parents immediately as every single thing came in, or if it was something that you kind of just let them see over time.
Okay, yeah. It was more or less just over time. I mean, yeah, I would celebrate a couple wins here and there, but it was honestly, I was in the same shoes as you, more or less. Not married and stuff, but my parents, my family is my priority, right? And like, it just always drove me crazy that, again, you always have to. I see it as like a lot of it is an ego thing in a way, but it's putting myself in their shoes as well as like, if I had a son and he was betting his entire life on posting TikToks, and I frankly don't understand this, and he was supposed to go to med school, and now he has this completely different idea, which I have no understanding of. Like, and it's also with our family too, like my grandparents in Brazil, like my aunts, cousins, they have no idea like what's happening, obviously.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it. I've talked to my parents before, like, hey, like, do you think I should say something? Do you think I should? Because, like, when are you going to go back to school? And it's like, Grandma, like, I'm working. Like, you still, like, for the longest time, I'd be like, yeah, I'm with Ekko Vision. I'm an athlete for them. Oh, why don't you come to Brazil, sell some of their products? I'm like, no. Like, I'm not, like, handing out supplements.
Right.
Like, I am sponsored at, like, I do social media full time. And it's very hard to understand. And it was just a matter of like, even my friends too. I remember whenever I dropped out, I received so many commentaries. Like, what are you doing with your life? Oh, Fonz, did you hear what this person said? Oh, like, I remember I got so many comments, and family, friends, whatever. I think there was this fire inside of me to like prove to myself, but
Yeah,
to people
absolutely.
to like, I'm going to make this work. And for the longest time, I feel like you want to get there to be able to shove on people's faces, but through that journey you grow obviously as an individual, mature, to whenever I did hit those goals, I wanted to share it from a perspective of like, anyone can do this.
Yeah.
Like,
It's no longer vindictive.
no, yeah, exactly. Like, I want to share this because I worked at the warehouse 8 months ago. I was there packing orders from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I would drive an hour and a half back and forth, and I would go to Alfland, and I would do my content, and I would do my shop videos every single day, the same thing, sometimes even 7 days a week. Like, I was literally there. And this was 8 months ago. This was not like 3 years ago. And I just share my story, even financials and stuff, not because I want to flex. Like, it's genuinely because I want to show people that I think, obviously there's luck. Obviously there's fortunate events that happen. But I firmly believe that if you wake up every single day with the like unconditional desire that you are going to achieve and become the person that you want to achieve and become, you will get there. Like, there's no way you can wake up every single day and say you're going to solve this Rubik's Cube and not solve it. Like, if that is your life mission, you're going to make it happen. And that's just simply something that I had to like wire into my brain, was like, I need to make this work if I want to get there. So yeah, it was,
I would say the one difference, because like you say that because you know that your desire leads to action.
yeah,
And that's the one thing that I would say doesn't happen for a lot of people.
yeah,
So, because I've had conversations like that before. It's like, no, this is what I want to do. Oh, well, what are you doing to make it happen?
Yeah.
And that's where the gap needs to be covered, because there are a lot of people that have dreams.
yeah,
And it stays as a dream because they don't put things into action.
yeah.
But obviously, you've been doing that, and it's been good. It's been good to see. I remember meeting you as a 17-year-old and being very. I was already surprised at your level of maturity at that point. But even over the course of the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I've seen
It's crazy.
immeasurable growth.
It's a blessing. And this is even, so I read this book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Amazing book. And he basically interviews the devil, and they're talking about like this other self, and the gap for you to become your other self is the amount of time that it takes for you to, whenever you say you're going to do something, from whenever you actually do it. And once I started putting that into play, I'm like, yeah, tomorrow I'll do this. Tomorrow I'll get my homework done. Tomorrow, why can't I just stop right now and do it? And whenever that started to click, things started to move a lot faster. The needle started to move towards where I wanted it to be, you know?
And that's a consistent theme that you see with people is that often when I'm talking with somebody, I'll say, oh, okay, so you want to do this. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, when does it start? Or like, when are you going to start working on it? They're like, oh, probably in the next month or two. I'm like, is there a reason you couldn't start today?
Exactly.
And almost always, it's very, very rare that they have a legitimate reason for not starting it today.
Yeah.
And so I remember talking with somebody, and they said, okay, yeah, like I'm gonna post my first piece of content tomorrow. I said, why not today?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you know what, you're right. And I was like, okay, this person has the right mentality. It wasn't, oh, well, I don't know what to do. It was, you know what, you said it, makes sense, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the mentality that a lot of people need to have, but don't unfortunately cultivate.
Yeah.
So no, it's really cool to see that with obviously somebody as young as you. But I did want to eat some crow while we were here because Fonzo is Brazilian and Ramon Dino ended up winning the Olympia. So I wanted to ask you. I'm not asking about whether you were a fan of him. I'm going to ask you realistically, did you actually think he was going to win going into the Olympia, or was it more of a hope? I want to know. Because he bragged to me about the fact that Ramon won, and I said he was going to win, and you didn't. So I just need to know.
Okay, I will say up until Mike and the whole height thing happened, it was more of a hope. But I know my people, brasileiros, that the nation itself is just very like, if there's something going on, like Ramon, like a Brazilian stepping on that Olympia stage, we're going to be fired up. And it's like, I mean, you saw how everyone received him whenever he came back. Like, and so I knew they were working on something crazy. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm obviously biased. We can't neglect that. But he hadn't posted many physique updates except for like some that he looked huge. And I was like, dude, he didn't compete in the Arnold. He knows posing is one of his flaws. He's going to be working on that. There's no way he's not going to be working on that. And then the whole Mike thing happened, and I knew. I mean, I was texting you like two weeks out. I was like, I don't know, man. I feel like Ramon's going to bring a really good package. And I remember, like, I even posted those screenshots. But no, I genuinely did think at least he had a really good shot. I did not think he was – people were like, no, Ramon's going to get fifth. I'm like, no, he's not. There's no way. But winning, it was a big hope. I didn't think Terrence was going to win. Watch every single one of his prep videos. Love that guy. He recommended books, whatever. But again, he is on the shorter side. He's on the smaller side. And then Mike with the whole height thing, I was like, okay, this is looking good. I was just like, Ramon just needs to bring conditioning. And I just really wanted to see him win, honestly. Like,
That's fair.
I can't neglect. I'm biased. I mean, if you know his story, just even a little bit, where he's come from, the man he is, I think he not only worked towards that, but he really deserved it all around. He's a great guy. I really wanted to have met him there, but it is what it is. But yeah.
Well, talking about the biggest stage, I'm not saying that you're claiming to be the next Mr. Olympia or anything like that, but as far as bodybuilding goes, do you see it for yourself being something that you are looking to take it to as high a level as possible, or is it more one of those things where you enjoy it, you'll do it, you'll continue to coach for it, whatever else? Because that's where I am, right? I never want to be like, oh, are you telling him to not chase his dreams? No, of course not. But me personally, I know that just structurally, taking a look at things overall, my genetics and everything else, I'm not going to be an Olympia contender by any means. I'm not going to take the gear necessary to do so. And even if I did, I don't believe I would have that actual capability. But for you, obviously being 19, you have your whole life ahead of you. Is it something that you want to push a little bit just to kind of see what you can do? Or are you legitimately, no, you know what, I am a full-time bodybuilder. I want to be one of the top athletes in the world. That is what I'm striving for.
I would say before going into prep, I was unsure of that. So I definitely love lifting. It's my passion. And, I even remember whenever I was peak bulky came up to me, you were like, dang, like, you're looking big. Like, you ever thought about, like, leaning down? I remember we were at Species. And then that's whenever I brought up, like, coaching and all this stuff. And Going into prep, I was a little bit unsure. I was like, I'm mostly doing this for the personal branding aspect, social media. I remember that was something we talked about a lot last year as well. Like, I was like, Joel, like, you think if I do a YouTube series out of this, it's going to do well? And you're like, well, it just depends, if you're consistent. Like you said, a lot of people talk about doing something. It's different whenever you actually go and do it. But prep has definitely been one of the most draining experiences of my life, mentally, physically, spiritually, but it also has been one of the best, most crucial, like needle, like completely turned my life 360. And I will say firmly that bodybuilding is my passion. And I, if I'm able to, I would, yes, love to be top of the sport. Obviously, a lot of it is genetics. A lot of it is like, can you objectively do it? Like you said, like you can analyze the physique and be like, okay, I could do all the work, I could get conditioned, but you're not, your muscles, bellies aren't going to change, your bone density, whatever. I do think I'm young, and with the right guidance, of course, the best guidance, Mr. TNF, we can go. I think I could go really far. So yeah, answering your question, yes, I would want to do competitive at the high level. I am definitely going to stay natural for as long as possible, but I would very much be interested in at least diving into the IFBB Pro and then doing a couple shows there. And then if we were like, hey, like you could do it, like go to the top stage, yeah, I think I would want to.
Yeah. No, I definitely recommend staying natural for a little while longer. People will say, oh, what's the right age in order to make that decision? And I will always tell people, I'm like, wait longer rather than earlier.
Yeah.
It's because it is a big decision, right? If you're going to go that route, there are health complications that can arise. It's not that they always do, and obviously you want to use the safest methods possible, but it's impossible to ignore, right? It's like when I think one of the analogies that people make is you can get in a race car and you can take all the precautions you want, but at the end of the day, you're still in a race car, right? There's still that possibility of things going wrong at a certain turn, and you have to be willing to accept that risk if that is something you're looking to push.
Yeah.
I just got an interesting concept for you. Do you want to, because you've been asking me to talk about what I think your strong points and weak points are, and I told him, you know what, just focus on the show, don't worry about it, we'll talk about it later. Would you want me to tell you what
Yes.
I think? Yes?
Yeah.
All right. He's been waiting for this.
Yes.
So when it comes to bodybuilding, whether you're a casual, advanced, like I just want to explain to you guys, anything that I say in regards to this is not putting down, is not it's nothing about like saying he's not good enough or anything like that. But when you take a look at it, the more objective you can be, the better you can make decisions in the future as to what you need to bring up, how you work on things, and that is the best spot to be in. It's always best to know where you're at and what you can do rather than to just say, you know what, I think I look pretty good. Yeah. Right? The judges aren't looking for whether you look good. Fonzo obviously looks amazing, but we need to talk about, or I should say at some point we would need to talk about the structural issues, things that he can do in order to improve on things. So the first thing for you, I would say, is your shoulders aren't quite as broad as other people. Now, the nice thing for you is you still develop your shoulders pretty well, right? And that helps a lot. So as long as you're able to consistently continue developing your shoulders outwards, you should be fine. Very strong point, your midsection, right? You have very good symmetrical abs. The minute you turn those on, it stands out. Quads, great, right? Like you grow legs very well. And this is something I talked about with people before, and something that I think doesn't get brought up enough is if you struggle to grow your legs as a bodybuilder, unless you are planning to do men's physique, it's going to be very, very tough for you to have a future in the sport. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get to a decent level, but at the end of the day, every single person who's on that top level stage has good legs.
Yeah.
When it comes to classic, open, good legs. And even in men's physique now, at this point, they've been valuing legs as well. So this is not to, if you're somebody who's looking to be an amazing bodybuilder, you're like, well, but my legs are just small. Keep working on them, keep bringing them up, but just understand that's a point that's always going to be a big, it's going to be a big point in your favor, a big point against you. But Fonz doesn't struggle in that area. So for you, it's almost entirely, in my opinion, structural, right? Which is the shoulder width, right? You just don't necessarily have as much capacity for overall muscle size up top because of the fact that it can only go so far. But there were other bodybuilders that dealt with those issues, and I'm not, and I'm not comparing you to this person because people are gonna be like, oh, so you're saying, no, it's not what I'm saying. But there are other people who have had those structural issues who have overcome them. You have guys like Niall Darwin, right?
Yeah.
Like Niall Darwin has a bit narrower shoulders. He's been able to develop his shape to a significant extent to the point where it doesn't really matter all that much. Phil Heath also had narrower shoulder, and obviously second best bodybuilder in my opinion of all time. So I don't want you to take that at all as like if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, that means we're gonna have to get bigger lats, and we're gonna have to get bigger side delts.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You get what you get what you're given at birth, and you work with it, not against it.
I do think my biceps are definitely lacking.
The only thing I would say is this, and this is something that's going to drive a lot of people crazy. Biceps are not all that important in bodybuilding at this point. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like biceps. Obviously, I love biceps. A lot of people watching on social media love biceps, but it's not the most heavily valued characteristic when it comes to bodybuilding. Your torso is actually going to be far more important. So yes, you'd love to have a good set of arms, but that's not going to be something that's going to be a major limiting factor in the long run, assuming you continue to grow overall.
Yeah.
So I would agree with you. Biceps could be brought up. They might be a little bit of a weak point, but they're not going to be the thing at the end of the day that's going to make the difference between you being a good pro and a mediocre pro.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it's super interesting to see, like, because even again, I always want to jump the gun. Like, dude, if I look at it like this at 18, my first time stepping on stage, imagine me at 23 as a natural. But, like, realistically speaking, yeah, I've been lifting, and, you know, I got up to, like, 200 pounds, had to lose 42 pounds to step on stage. That is why you don't dirty bulk. But, like, hamstrings. I never trained hamstrings before this year. Like, I remember telling you that. And, like, I remember every single full body day I had started with hamstring curls. Glutes. I didn't even start training ever until 5 weeks before my first show. And so it's like, and quads, I mean, I haven't specifically said this, but the last time I squat on prep was with Mark in Vegas. And then before that, it was like, I haven't squatted at all during prep. All I do is quad extensions and adductors, if I'm being honest, because I would rather use my energy for hinges and hip thrusts.
This is my first time hearing about this.
Yeah, which I knew he was going to get mad about, but I genuinely I don't like squats. And, like, on my off season, I would do one working set of squats a week. That was it.
Hey, that might just mean we have even more capacity for growth.
And so, yeah, that's what I'm inevitably getting to. It's like seeing myself now after just truly being dialed in on diet, without the partying, without the inconsistent. Because last year I stopped lifting for 2 to 3 months because I was just partying, and I just lost a bunch of weight. So, like, I'm so excited to see me with this, like, rewired mindset, with the right community around, with the good inner circle around. These next few years of growth, that's why I'm like, people are like, oh, why don't you just hop on and go for that young? Because I'm like, guys, this year, losing 42 pounds of fat, I'm still way stronger than I was at 200. So, like, imagine if I do this, which, knowing me, I probably will, rebound correctly, and then stay in that 12, 15%, just, like, take care of my health, and now, like, track lifts, do things like that. And obviously having a platform holds you accountable to a degree. Like, Nate was like, oh, I think, you know, you'll see with the food noise, it's hard to just it's easy to gain 30 pounds after a show. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but whenever you have, like, a community and a social media presence, I mean, if I just showed up 40 pounds fat 2 days after competing, people were going to be like, dude, what are you doing?
No, it is actually very helpful.
Yeah, so it helps a lot.
Yeah, no, people will ask me, they'll say, oh, well, what keeps you motivated? And I say to them, I say, you know what? You guys do actually
help a lot. Yeah,
help a lot. You guys asking me questions, you guys trying to figure things out. It's like, I don't want to not look the part. I don't want to not be able to show you guys some level of inspiration. Now, not everybody is going to take inspiration from that, but I want to at least be available for that if possible.
So, yeah, I know that I'm excited for this next growth, and it's again like being excited, being like, oh, one day I'll be at the Olympia level. But I don't know. Only time will tell. But if you want to ask me, like, yeah, would you consider hopping on and going that far? Is this your passion? Yeah, it is. I definitely want to do this for life, and I'm very serious about this. And it's just a matter of taking it day by day. I don't have any goals in regards to natural bodybuilding itself, being frank honest. So it's just a matter of setting myself up for whenever I do hop on, I can make the most out of it.
Absolutely.
That's where
That's
how
the
I
best
see it.
mentality to have.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I want to get this as a natural. No, like I really understand that. My goal is the big guys. Naturally, you're not going to get to the Olympia.
Sure.
Like, and so it's just a matter of taking it year by year. But my main goals for sure for these next couple of years is just going to be like business, learning, investing, and setting myself up so I can have a bodybuilding career with very little stress. Just be able to do what I want to do, which is bodybuilding. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? That's how I see things. So.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and we talked a lot about mentality. So we're getting short on time, but I just wanted to ask you if there's one thing that you feel like you've learned over the course of this last year, couple years, prepping, whatever direction you want to take it, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself? Because a lot of times people will learn things, but I want to know what you think you've learned about yourself throughout this process.
Dang, that's a good question. There's just been so many things. Like, I've learned so many different things. I think a lot of my time in life was trying to fit in. You know, being the youngest, always moving schools, countries. I found myself worrying a little bit about what people wanted to do, but always in the back of my mind, like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I want to be different. I want to do something else. And just like getting to know myself in high school, I was in two-year-long relationships. So this is the first time in my life that I was able to like, who is Alfonso? Why is Alfonso a psychopath that cold plunges and works 15 hours a day? You know, but it was truly finding myself in, you know, Jesus as well, building my relationship spiritually, mentally, and just like knowing that I am this 18, 19-year-old kid who's doing things a lot differently than most people. But I'm a hardworking person. I'm a family guy. I love reading books. Like, I hated reading. The thought of reading was horrible. Now I love it. Love listening to podcasts. And it's like what I value the most is family. It's friends. And being able to wake up every day and just doing something you love. I think that's the biggest thing. It was learning that, like, it doesn't matter if people make fun of you, if people are trying to put you down, if they don't believe in you. Like, the biggest thing is just you believing in yourself. And if you don't want to do something, do it for you tomorrow. Like, that's what I always tell myself is like, I don't want to post
What's
these.
future Fawn's going to think of this decision?
Exactly. Like, am I making my younger self proud? And it's always what I try to get back to is like, I am living in answered prayers. Like, holy, it's a Wednesday and it's 4 p.m. and I would be leaving school right now. Mm-hmm. My math class that I used to sleep in. Shout out because I failed. But and I'm here making a podcast with a guy who, at 16, I drove an hour and a half to meet for a meet and greet, and now it's taking me for my second bodybuilding show. So it's like, there's nothing I can complain about, and there's just like, there isn't an exact word because this is a very deep asked question, but it's like, I just figured that he's happy with the simple things, and he's happy doing the things he loves and with the people he loves, and that's basically it. And like, that's what I value. So I know I went on a yap there, but I don't really know how to give you a firm answer on that
No,
one.
that's an appreciated yap. I mean, it shouldn't be something that you're able to answer in a few words.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Hey, Fonz, appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
And we will catch you guys in the next episode. Wish Fonz luck at his show, and like, follow, subscribe. Then you can see more conversations like this, real one-on-ones. TNF and
Fonz out.
out.
Peace.